Today, I'm gonna teach you how to tie your own night crawler harnesses so that you guys can go out and catch tons of fish on your own baits. Stay tuned. Welcome back to another video. For those of you that don't know who I am, my name is Cody Solberg. I am a multi-species fishing guide here in Green Bay, Wisconsin. I target walleyes on Green Bay, and then I also do some salmon fishing out on Lake Michigan. I also film lots of walleye content here on my channel. And I actually just posted a video about a month ago out in Ohio on Lake Erie. We were trolling for walleyes using night crawler harnesses, and I got a bunch of questions on just how I make my crawler harnesses. So I thought I would make this video today to just kind of break down how I create my crawler harnesses, what I do and what works for me, and give you guys some information on how you can create your own crawler harnesses to catch your own fish. The first thing that you're gonna need is some supplies. So you're gonna wanna run over to your local sporting goods store, and you're gonna wanna pick up some hooks. The hooks that I like to run on my crawler harnesses are these Mustad octopus hooks and these Mustad treble hooks. These are the triple grips, and I believe these are the Ultra Point Mustad octopus hooks. I like to run size 1 or 2 octopus hooks and then 2 or 4 size treble hooks. Mustad has always been great. I don't have very many issues with these hooks snapping. They're super sharp and they can definitely handle the mouths of some big walleyes too as well. So check out these hooks. These are gonna be the ones that we're using to tie up our harnesses today. The next thing you're gonna wanna find is some fishing line. Now obviously there's a ton of fishing line out there. Some people like to run monofilament on their crawler harnesses. Me, personally, I like to run fluorocarbon. So today we're gonna be tying up my crawler harnesses with this 17-pound fluoro. This stuff has worked great for me. It's super abrasive, it holds up to those bigger fish, and it can just take a little bit more of a beating than monofilament can. So this is what we'll be using today. For these crawler harnesses, you're also gonna need some beads. Now, I picked up this awesome pro bead box from one of our sporting goods stores here locally. This is a Warrior Lures bead box, but you don't necessarily have to use the beads that you're gonna be finding in your sporting goods stores. You can go to craft shops, maybe like a Hobby Lobby or anything like that. Find any sort of bead that you like. The best part about this is you can get creative. You can use whatever you want to make these crawler harnesses, and any sort of bead is gonna work. Simply all that bead is just to get the blade away from the hooks. So get some beads, doesn't really matter what kind. You're gonna want a lot of different colors. I like to play around with colors a lot, and this bead box here just seems to work for me. Next to the beads, you're gonna wanna grab some more terminal tackle. I personally like to run barrel swivels on the front side of my crawler harnesses. Some guys will just do loops. I personally like to have the barrel swivel on there. I noticed that I don't have any issues with my lines twisting or anything like that. So I just like to run the barrel swivels. It's easier for me. I can store them easily in my pool noodles, and I haven't ever had any issues with the barrel swivels. So I'll show you 2 different ways you can tie them, whether you're doing a looping style or a barrel swivel style. But if you are gonna do the barrel swivel style, you're gonna wanna grab yourself some of those. Another thing that you're gonna find in the bead section in the sporting goods stores or over by the night crawler harnesses is these little quick change release clips. What these little quick change release clips actually do is just allow you to snap on different styles of blades. So say you're fishing, one color is doing better than the other, you wanna take a blade off of your crawler harnesses and put a new one on. These quick change release clips make it very simple. All you have to do is take your blade, pop it into there, and you're good to go. That blade is on there. And if you wanted to change it, again, all you have to do is pop that blade off that quick change release clip and pop a new one in. You should be able to find these right next to where you found the beads at the sporting goods store. It's gonna be in the terminal tackle, probably down that harness section in the store. You can buy these in packs of thousands of them. So get as many of these as you can, because sometimes you do lose them, you drop them. They are small. You're just gonna wanna have a ton of these laying around if you're gonna be doing crawler harness fishing in general. So grab yourself some of those. It's definitely necessary. Last but not least, you're gonna wanna grab yourself some harness blades. Now, you can see I have a plethora of them right here in this Backwater Customs box. I absolutely love this box for storing my blades. Super organized, and they're not just kind of bouncing around everywhere, maybe getting chipped up or anything like that. So I love this box. As you can tell, there's a lot of different styles that you can get. A lot of what's in here is size 4, size 3. I don't think I have anything. There are some smaller ones in here too as well. But most of what I run is gonna be around the size 4, size 3 category, especially out on Green Bay and Lake Erie. So now that you've gathered all of your components, you're actually ready to start tying your own harnesses. The first thing you're gonna wanna do is cut off a length of fishing line, or in my case, fluorocarbon. Once I get that line pulled out, I'll go ahead and cut it. So now the first thing we're gonna wanna do is actually tie our hooks on. Now, I'm gonna bring the camera in a little closer here so I can show you guys how I like to tie my hooks on. There's a lot of different ways you can do it. You can do it with 2 octopus hooks, you can do it with an octopus hook and a treble hook, or you could even try doing a 3-hook pattern where you have 2 octopus hooks and maybe a treble hook, or all 3 of them are octopus hooks too as well. For the purpose of this video and my personal preference, we're gonna do an octopus hook in the front and a treble hook on the back. I like to have that treble hook on the back. It's just a little reassuring knowing that you got 3 hooks there at the back that are probably gonna sink in just a little better when that walleye grabs that bait, rather than just having 2 octopus hooks. But they both do work, and I have caught fish on both styles. So the first knot we're actually gonna tie here is gonna be a snell knot, simply because we wanna get the front hook, this octopus hook, set ahead of the treble hook. So we're basically gonna tie this octopus hook in here on the line, and we're gonna have quite the tag end here, basically to play around with to actually tie in our treble hook. So the first thing that we're gonna do is run a snell knot. So how I like to do this is hold my hook the direction it's gonna be facing on the crawler harness. So if we're running the crawler harness this way, we're gonna run basically that fishing line parallel with the hook. So this is how it'll look when it's sitting on the crawler harness itself. So that's how we're gonna tie it in. We'll hold our octopus hook here in one hand. All we're gonna do is simply slip the line through the hook here. A little tough to see in the garage. And then we'll pull a good couple of inches of slack here, just so that we have room to tie that treble hook up. Now we can always trim that if it gets to be too long. We just wanna make sure that we get the knot tied secure. Now that we have that done, we'll kind of just take that tag end, pinch it into the shank of the hook here so that we have this end exposed. Then what we're gonna do is we're gonna take this end of the line and just start wrapping it around the shank. Now we're gonna wanna wrap it like 7 or 8 times here. And once we get that wrapped, we wanna pinch it so that line stays tight. As you guys can see, that line is gonna stay tight on there. Once we have it pinched, we'll take the opposite end of our line and run it back through the hook the opposite direction. And then all we're gonna do is pull that line tight, and that's gonna give us a perfect snell knot. So as you can see, we have one hook that is now tied in, ready to go. All we have to do is add that treble hook to the back here. For this treble hook, we can tie just a simple fisherman's knot or any knot that you feel comfortable tying. I always like to leave a good couple of inches between the octopus hook and the treble hook. Obviously, you don't want this distance to be too great, but I like to leave that distance just a little bit greater, simply because the crawlers I like to run are typically bigger, and the further I can stretch them hooks out, normally the better hookup percentage I'll have. So fisherman's knot has just been a knot that's worked for me in the past, and I've never had any issues. There we go, and make sure to wet it there, and then we'll just pull that tight. So now, as you can see, we have 2 hooks that are tied in. When we rig up our crawlers, we'll basically take the front octopus, shove it through the nose, and then we can take this back treble and put it in the midsection of that crawler. So now that we have the hooks tied on here, we're ready to add some bead patterns and a blade to this to get this thing ready to fish. So one color that has always been great on Lake Erie and Green Bay is blue chrome. We're gonna go ahead, we're gonna tie this crawler harness up with a blue chrome type of pattern. So in the bead box here, we have some blue beads. We're just gonna go ahead and pop some beads onto our harness. Typically, I like to run 4 or 5 beads in front of that first hook. This way I can really get that blade away from the crawler, away from the hooks themselves, so they're not covering them up. That will basically allow me to run any size blade if I do happen to switch it out. So there you can see we added some blue beads to the front side of that crawler harness. I've got 5 beads on there. We are now ready to add that quick change release clevis. We'll put that on right now. When you put this clevis on, you always want to make sure that that rounded side is facing up. When you clip those blades on, you want that blade obviously facing down towards the hook. We'll go ahead and add that on to our harness here. As you can see, that rounded side of the clevis is up and that flat side of the clevis is up against the beads. So now from there, we're almost done. I like to add just 1 or 2 more beads to the top side of that clevis. I always like to add 1 blue bead to the top side of that clevis, and then right on top, I'll actually add a pearl bead, a white bead, just to give it a little bit more of a flash down there in the water. Does it make a huge difference? Probably not, but I just like to get creative in my own style, and that's what I like to do. So the bead pattern on this crawler harness is complete. You can see we have our hooks, our beads, our quick change release clevis. Now, all we have to do on the front side of this is simply tie a loop like this, or again, we can add that barrel swivel to the front of this, and then this crawler harness is complete. Personal preference, I like to add a barrel swivel. You could simply just tie an overhand loop. If you just take your line, loop it like this, all you have to do is basically create the knot, pull it tight, and you'll have a loop in your line. I'm simply just gonna tie on my barrel swivel here. Now that we have the barrel swivel on there, we can go ahead and add a blade to our quick change release clevis. So here is that blue chrome Northland blade that is super hot out on Lake Erie and Green Bay. We're just gonna go ahead and add that to our crawler harness here. Again, making sure that the back side of that blade is facing the beads on the harness itself. This walleye harness is now complete. We could add a crawler to this, throw it on our line, and begin trolling. So that is how I like to tie my night crawler harnesses. One more step, if you are looking for a good way to store your crawler harnesses after you tie them, I like to use these Plano boxes. These are super simple Plano boxes. You can get them online or at your local sporting goods stores as well. And then I'll just go to Walmart or something and pick up a pool noodle. I'll chop this pool noodle up, get it so it fits in this Plano box. I think I had to trim the bottom of them just a little bit to get them to fit in here, but I'll do that. And then they make great crawler harness storage things. Obviously, as you can tell, you can fit a ton of crawler harnesses on each noodle. What I like to do is just take a utility knife and basically just cut a slit, just a little slit in the top of this pool noodle. That way, when I go to put my barrel swivel into the noodle, I can just put the barrel swivel right into the slit on that pool noodle. And now that that's in there, I can wrap this up just like this, and I can keep that crawler harness right on that pool noodle, put it right back into my box here, and keep it nice and tucked away for when I need it next time. So again, that is how I like to tie up my crawler harnesses. This is a great winter project. Sometimes I just like to sit down at the kitchen table, turn on a Packer game or something, and just tie up a bunch of crawler harnesses. Hopefully this video helped you. If it did, go down, hit that subscribe button down below. We post tons of awesome content here, whether it's fishing content, educational content like this video, and just some awesome content that you're not gonna wanna miss in the future. If you have any other questions for me, definitely leave them down in the comments below. If you're wondering how we actually use these crawler harnesses out on the water, I'll leave some videos that I've posted in the past down in the description below that you can use for your reference to go out and catch some fish on your newly built crawler harnesses. Thank you for watching, and as always, keep living your dream. We'll catch you guys on the next one.